This is Lisa with T-24.com. I don't know what's happening. Odd Musings with Brett and Scott.
Live from the Echo Network studios here in Royal Oak, Michigan. This is Odd Musings. We are your hosts. I'm Brett Pinson, creator of Boomtown Scabs, The Adventures of Carl, The Expendables. You can find me at brettpinson.com. And of course, sitting next to me is
Scott Zambelli. I'm creator of Emmanuel God With Us. I'm also the colorist for HB Comics' upcoming Legion of Justice series, which we can now announce will be coming out in October. So I'm excited about that. I'm working feverishly on those. Bless you, Dominic. And and on top of that, I'm also a real estate agent, realtor extraordinaire who can help you buy or sell a home. So contact me if you need anything like that.
We got Dom sneezing over here. He must have found a Pokemon he's allergic to.
Is that it? We have a great show today.
Yeah, we're going to be kind of celebrating America a little bit with 4th of July next week.
We fry up some bacon, put some cheese on it.
Hey, and for those that like apple pie like Scott, there you go.
Ooh, talking about apple pie.
Yes, he likes those little mini ones. Send him a case.
Oh, but actually, what you can send me a case of? This reminds me. So we were celebrating my mother's birthday yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
She turned 69, and so love
our moms are the same age, just a couple months apart.
Look at that. It's like they're practically sisters.
I know.
And
we're practically brothers.
We're brothers based upon our DNA.
We have a DNA proof of that.
But so we were celebrating that. Had a great time with family. It was really fun last night.
You posted a great picture of your daughter and your mom together. Ashley's looking good.
Yep, she's doing well. She's got a new full-time job that she's really excited for. So
awesome.
Things are going well. But you mentioned apple pie, and because there was this really yummy drink I found. So you know how they have Not Your Father's Root Beer?
Right.
Well, they also make Not Your Mama's Apple Pie.
See, I have a problem with that. Did you ever see the show Justified?
No.
Here's the problem in Justified is that one of the seasons they had one of the women that she kind of ran an illegal whatever because they did everything illegal, and she would serve her apple pie moonshine and she killed the person.
Oh, well.
So now
this is kind of a version of apple pie moonshine. It's a hard drink.
See, I like it's funny. I do like apple cider, so I would actually try this.
It's sweeter. It's like apple pie. You can taste the cinnamon in it. It's got vanilla in it, and then the apple.
Scott, I don't like I don't like any pies with fruit. I don't like anything cooked fruit, stuff like that. I like the smell of apple pie. I just don't like the taste.
Yeah,
and that's why I've
I'll let you sniff my drink as I drink it. How's that?
Actually, the drink I would actually try on my own, but
it's got 5.5% alcohol in it, so it's like a beer.
Oh yeah.
But so I had 2 of those last night. I don't drink much, so 2 was enough.
Yeah, usually you're a 2-drink minimum or maximum kind of guy.
Usually it's people laugh because I'll order 2, give me 2 and a water.
Yeah.
And the 2 are gone within 30 seconds, and then I enjoy my night.
There you go.
But so happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah, happy birthday, Susan, right?
Susan,
got her name right.
That's right.
I've only met your mom a couple times. She's always really nice, and so that's pretty cool. So she's listening. Hey, Susan. Hey. And that, but we got a fun show. We're going to talk a little bit about America with the 4th of July next week. We will not be live next week, but we have a great new show for you next week. It's going to be a clip show. You guys are going to like this one. It's all kinds of interviews that if you've not followed our YouTube channel, you should be. And they were pulled from there and put together in a nice string for an hour for you guys to enjoy us live to listen to through oddmusings.com, or we'll try to do a Facebook live stream. The video definitely will be available by 10 a.m. too to check it out there. And,
that's right.
We'll go from there on that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But this week we need to talk America. But first, what'd you do this past week?
Well, as I said, we celebrated my mother's birthday. I did a lot of the ship shopping, which we talked about last week.
Yep.
That really has been a blessing. Especially with the hours I do, I'm able to do this as a side job and make really good money doing the shipped, which I really like, in addition to the real estate business. And it's really balanced out. It's what it's done is with real estate, you make your income when you do a closing.
Right.
So what you end up having is kind of like.
It's just like with art. With art,
right.
we don't make any money.
Show, you make a big we either have lots of money or no money.
Right.
And that's the same with real estate. So Shipt has given me this nice, baseline that I can count on every week to know, okay, this is coming in. I'll have these bills covered. And then when the closings happen in real estate, then that gives me the boost to either, catch up on some past stuff or get ahead in other areas. So it's been really nice and just really loving it. The people, I was telling you a funny story. So this one family I delivered to, they were, it was a guy who answered the door. I'm assuming he was the dad. And there was like 6 or 7 of these kids, all under 7 years old. They were so excited. I'm like, the Shipt man is here. And they're like jumping up and down. They're cheering me on. I felt like Captain America walking in there. Like I was their hero because I had you could tell, I think it was a sleepover because it seemed like all these treats for everyone to have that night. And I think no one was planning on any sleeping. So I bring it in and like the kids are helping and they're just so excited. And then when I'm getting ready to go, they're like, thank you, Shipt man. I'm like, you're welcome.
So Scott did the pose.
Yeah. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. And but it was hilarious. So I have not had a reception like that before, I must say.
Well, good.
So that was cool. And how about you? You were also busy doing your thing.
Yeah, I did a lot of shifting this past week. I got like 45 shops in. It was a pretty good week for me.
Yeah,
I busted my butt and had a lot of fun. Saw a lot of regulars. I love part of this job I love is seeing the people I see regular all the time, and don't always sit and talk to them very much, but just seeing the same people, they really appreciate the service. They love having the fact that someone can go spend the time grocery shopping, so it saves them 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes because they don't know where things are at. I mean, I can zip in and out of the stores pretty quick, except for Target. Target's so new for us. I always have to plan extra time for that.
Now, did you check out the app?
I did, and I'm
the way
using
the
that.
map is.
Yeah, and that works out
cool.
great. And then also I tie in the Shipt app now because I had a customer the other day ask a substitution. Well, which one is cheaper? So I went on the Shipt app for actually ordering as a customer.
Yep.
And I saw, such and such is on sale. They're like, perfect. That's what we want.
That's what's nice about we can tie in our app, the other app we have.
So it's a lot of fun in that, and definitely still getting a lot of good exercise from it and having a blast. And it's again, like we're talking about, it's actually been a blessing because it's allowing me to continue to do other things and got some things that are kind of balanced now. Coming up in a few weeks here, I'm going to be heading to Florida for Tampa Bay Comic-Con. I'm actually going down for a few weeks. The first week I'm going to be there, I'm actually going to try doing some shifting down there.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Down there at Publix.
You'll have to come back and report how Publix is. And
I won't do like a full...
maybe do a live stream.
Yeah, I may have to do that, yeah.
Actually, it might be fun to do a live stream. We have a Shipt page for Detroit shoppers.
Yeah.
And stuff. That might be cool just to show them all.
I'm in Florida, guys. Guess what? It's hot there too.
Our sister from another Mister, Janice, her mom is in the same age group club as ours. So
that's why we're all cool.
There you go. Must be why we all get along so well.
I guess. But yeah, I did that. Now I went last Thursday. Needed to. We saw Jurassic World together separately at different theaters, but at the same time. And I got to say, we're not going to get into Jurassic World much. I go see it once. It's worth seeing once. The dinosaurs were spectacular. A lot of good action. Story I thought was a little weak, but it is kind of the sequel, and sequels have that sophomore slump a lot of times. It's going to do good money because they have a third one coming in 3 years that'll kind of round everything out.
Yeah, I will say, I must admit, I was underwhelmed, I'll say. It was enjoyable for one watch. I would recommend seeing it at a matinee price, personally. I don't think it was worth full price, but it was still fun. Thankfully, Chris Pratt is in it. Chris Pratt makes it.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's awesome. And I like Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she's really great, too.
Yeah, at least in this movie, she's not running around the park in her high heels. They gave her actual boots to run in this time, so that's nice. But I found the story to be insanely predictable. It's just very predictable.
It really is. And I was really actually disappointed with Jeff Goldblum. He was beginning and end. He was fine. Yeah. I thought he would be more part of it.
Yeah. I really think what would have made this movie a home run is the first half of the movie, if that was the whole movie. I don't want to give away spoilers.
Yeah, it's...
had they extended that out for the entire movie, and the ending of that first half is the end here.
Well, actually, from the trailer, a couple of the shots there with Chris Pratt running, I thought that was towards the end.
Right.
That's actually just the end of the first act.
Right.
So,
Yeah, had that been the entire movie, and they fleshed that part out a little bit, and they ended it on a note where it was just uncertain, I think that would have been a better launching pad for it, because then technically if they could do a reboot in whatever direction they wanted.
Right.
But the way they went, I'm a little.
I think they're going for a hard end with the third one.
Yeah.
And then down the road, they'll reboot Jurassic Park period and just start over again. But Janice kind of agrees with us. I see that here. So
yeah, it was fun. It was still fun. I'm
glad I saw it
we
once.
both agree, see it.
Yeah.
Definitely see it.
Yeah,
but,
I'm glad I saw it once. I won't go see it again in the theater. Yeah. I don't know. It comes out. Sometimes I buy these things or not. It just depends. At this point right now, I'm like, I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm excited because I keep seeing pre-order stuff pop up for Solo, though they don't have a release date yet. So, although with that in mind, I was trying to decide: do I go with the Target one that has the book, or do I go with the Best Buy one that has the steel case? Because it looks pretty awesome with from the inside of the Falcon. So
that looked pretty cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Solo again this weekend. So I'm only up to number 6 so far. I'm hoping to get another one in this week.
Yeah, I want to try to see it again, at least one more time in the theater, and I want to go see Incredibles 2 again. Yeah. So there's a little bit of docket, but next week, we'll talk a little more later. But I can see Ant-Man. So
Ant-Man. And then there was also some other interesting news that popped up this week.
Yes. I was just telling Scott this morning. I saw on the 21st. So it's been official for a little while. AT&T now officially has bought DC and Warner Brothers. Other people may have seen this, and we just happen to miss it. For $85.4 billion. It took 2 years to get all the government approval because both of them being, I think,
Time Warner being such a large communications company.
Yeah, as being a communications company, they want to make sure there wasn't going to be like a dominance over everybody else. But the thing is that there's with Comcast being as big as they are and AT&T, and then that. So really, what we're looking at is we now have gone from having all these multiple companies to we're down to about 3 now, which is kind of how it always goes. When I was in college, they talked about they split up AT&T to these 3,000 companies, and then they all slowly started coming back into one company. And so now we've got AT&T, which has the DC, Warner Brothers, HBO, Turner, and then you get into Comcast, which is already NBC Universal, and then we have Disney with everything they have. So those are our 3 major players now in the entertainment industry. And then Netflix is kind of on its own thing right now. So they're off there. So it's going to be interesting, especially with them talking about AT&T and how they have a lot of direct-to-consumer streaming products.
Is DreamWorks owned by anybody, or are they independent?
I believe they're still independent.
That's what I thought.
I may be wrong.
Okay.
But I know there's been talks in buying them, so.
Well, the interesting thing is, the whole thing with the size of these companies, like Disney especially if they get the whole Sony thing.
No, they're about 20th Century Fox.
Or Fox.
Which it sounds like they did a higher bid. It sounds like that got approved. So it's now just a matter of going through the wrangling, so.
Is it? Because I thought they keep countering.
No, last I saw, Comcast hadn't recountered, and they weren't going to. I think it was strictly a game to get the money thrown up higher.
But the interesting problem that Disney has now, like look at May. Mm-hmm. They own so many studios now. They're competing with themselves, and they're getting into a problem. When do you release movies now? Because you're going against your own product line.
Well, I think part of the problem, this isn't just Disney, it's all the people. They always say, well, we have to release in May to start off. That's the big release. You got to have that stuff, but if you look at some of the other hit movies over the last few years that come out of nowhere, look at Deadpool for one, it was in February. They could have put Deadpool 2 in February, it still would have done the same numbers.
Yeah, Solo should have been released in November, I think, or December.
December would have been great.
I think that, like right now, it's struggling to hit 350 million worldwide.
Yeah, I think if it had been at a time when it was less competition, it would have been better. Yeah, there's just too much to choose from.
And there is no denying the impact that episode 8 episode 8 I love it. Yes. Oh, I didn't even mean to make that up. But so episode 8 was it had an impact because I know.
Well, I've seen this on a lot of boards and a lot of posts and that stuff, and a lot of people said they were so disappointed with episode 8 they didn't want to go see Solo because they thought it could be just more of the same. I personally liked Solo way more than I thought I would. So I'm glad it kind of brought my love of Star Wars right back into where it needs to be at.
But the other thing, to be fair, without episode 8 being the factor, I love that phrase. Yes. They released it at a time when Solo is going to be a weaker movie in the Star Wars line. The Star Wars stories tend to be weaker than the episode stories. And you had Infinity War going on, Deadpool 2 going on, Incredibles coming out. You had all these major movies coming out around the same time within just a couple weeks of it. It's good. That's going to take away from its own sales.
Right. And it's tough. And it was also, yes, it was a holiday weekend, but at the same time, at that point, Deadpool was still going strong. strong. Infinity War was still going strong.
Yeah.
So it was a tough weekend to compete, even though it was number
broke
one.
2 billion, I believe. I think they're in the 2 billion mark for global.
Yeah, it's still in the top 5 every week. So
yeah. So, anyways, I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to get out again this week to see Solo.
Yeah, I'm going to try myself and see that again, and then look forward to that. But the only thing this week I had going on is I did some cooking for a friend of my mom's. 20 slabs of ribs and 10 trays of mac and cheese I smoked.
Dang!
I know. It was a lot.
That's a lot of smoking.
I've got it all on ice right now. We're delivering it this afternoon to put in their refrigerator for their party on the weekends. Her son, I believe it's her son, got married, and so they're having like a wedding reception, but it's not like a regular reception. It's treated like a grad party. Show up whenever between these times. There'll be food. You visit with the bride and groom and leave.
So for those who don't know, Brett has a pretty nice smoker at his house. He enjoys smoking food. And now, when you get something that large, though, are you able to cook all 20 at once? Or
no, God, no. I don't have that big a smoker. It's a chest type.
Yeah.
And this one's actually bigger than the last one you saw, because I got a new one last year.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And this one I did 2 racks per shelf. I had 4 shelves. I probably could have done more. There's ways of propping them up, but I don't like to overload it.
Right.
And then I only did 4 trays of mac and cheese at a time, because I could have crammed them in there, but you have stuff crammed in too tight. The smoke's not flowing enough. I really wanted to make sure it was a good smoke on it. And that. Yeah. But you can do a fair amount of stuff in these things. I mean, if I was doing a regular meal, I could do, ribs. I could have done pork or beef. I could have done mac and cheese, turkey or chicken. I could have done everything all at once, and ham, sausages, and filled the whole thing out, and still had room for more, and sort of a really good dinner party type thing. So,
nice.
But you can do a lot in it.
Yeah, Brett does some good cooking in there. I've gotten to taste a few different things. I really, my favorite. You got a lot ready for your mac and cheese, which was good, but I really like your pulled pork.
Yeah, I would say the pulled pork is when I mentioned that, I was like, "What do you want, pork?" And they're like, "Well, everybody does pulled pork for the reception. So we want to do ribs." I was like, "Okay." I like my ribs. My ribs are good. I do a dry rub, and then people can sauce it afterwards. I know a lot of people like them wet or sticky, as they're called. I personally prefer to do dry and then dip it in there, because I think my ribs come out tasty enough without sauce. Mm-hmm. So that's how I do that.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Yeah. Well, before we get started talking about some other fun, cool stuff, I got to do a little business here
for our buddy Joe.
Yeah, Joe over at International Minute Press. Actually, I think I'm doing it for Bridget today, because I like Bridget better. So. But International Minute Press in Plymouth, Michigan, they print, promote, and design you. They are artist-owned and operated. Joe and his team understand what it takes to build team enthusiasm and brand awareness. If you're looking for custom imprinted materials such as hats, t-shirts, mugs, and more, Imp of Plymouth is the company to help you. Contact them today for a competitive pricing quote. They're located at 1058 South Main Street in Plymouth, Michigan. Their phone number to call them at is 734-414-6203. Visit them online at myprinter.intlminutepress.com. We have a link at oddmusings.com under our sponsor page to them. Don't forget, mention Odd Musings to receive 20% off your next order. If you're saying, but Brett, I don't need hats, t-shirts, mugs, or more, they do everything else from business cards, all kinds of materials you need for your business, paper-wise, things like that. Or like us, we're artists, we get prints done there. And they got some new products coming out soon. So there's a really cool hologram thing they're working on, and that'll be really cool for prints. Or I'm actually thinking even some little mini cards and things like that. It'll be a lot of fun with that. So give them a call at 734-414-6203. Ask for Joe, Bridget, or one of the team members. Odd Musings, 20% off.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah, do it. And supporting our sponsors is supporting our show. So please check them out. They put their trust in our show to get the word out about what they do. So yeah, give them a shout out. Check out what they do.
And everything is really good quality.
It really is.
We use them not just because they're our sponsor. That's how we first started using them, because they're our sponsor. But we keep using them because the quality's been there for what we need for when we do our shows and need prints and things like that. So definitely check them out.
Yeah, and they've always come through for us. And even on the rare time something isn't quite right, they go out of their way to fix it.
Yeah, actually, a couple times things are off. He's like, "Hey, here's what's going on," and we went and recalibrated the machines and fixed it up.
And really, it's easy to talk about companies when things go right, but when things go wrong, how do they handle it? Well, and they do a great job
with anything. They fix it very few people say what's right. They always say what's wrong.
Yeah.
For every compliment you get, you're gonna get 10 people saying, "Here's what's wrong," and that's part of the problem with things. Just like even during shifting, I've gotten to know the store manager in Ann Arbor for Ann Arbor Saline Road, Tim, and when I see him, I always say, say hi to him. He always says hi to me. And then if I've got someone that's been exceptional that's work at Meyer, I'll tell him, say, hey, Tim, it's like this week I said, Christina back there in Derry, awesome. I know you guys are understaffed back there, and she's always willing to help out and find what we need and taking care of stuff, and she's always working hard, and I really appreciate that. And he appreciated me telling him that because all they ever hear is the bad stuff.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for International Minute Press.
Thank you, Bridget.
We appreciate your support and look forward
Yes.
to what we have down the road.
Exactly.
So today I heard an interesting topic come up on the radio. These are important things that we as fandoms need to discuss.
Yes.
So once and for all, it was determined: is Harry Potter a nerd or a jock? And somebody came up with the whole. They did all the research and put the evidence together, and drum roll, Harry Potter is a jock, not a nerd.
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I think it makes sense to people who are hardcore fans. I think the casual fan, they see Harry has the glasses. If they didn't read the book, they might not realize he's not that smart.
No.
He's not dumb, but he's average.
No, I mean, when you look at towards the last couple of movies, when he's teaching them spells, well, the only reason he knows them is because he had to be taught this stuff to defend himself because everybody's trying to kill him.
And most of the stuff he knew, it's only because he had Voldemort in him. Oh, spoiler alert for anybody who's like 30 years behind. But
well, yeah,
like we don't really know how good Harry is magically.
Well, I mean, it's kind
after
of
the Voldemort half is gone.
It's basically he's never was the most powerful wizard because.
And you know what drives me nuts about Harry?
Yeah,
like here he is, like year 18 or whatever it is. What's the last book? 7?
Book 7, and then they did the 19 years later.
Here he is, 7 years of intense wizarding training. And he finally has his battle with Voldemort. And what spell is he using? Expelliarmus. What he learned in grade 1.
Yeah.
He's like, come on. Has he not learned any spells? But that ties into him being a jock. He was always skipping class.
Yes.
But he still got credit because he was the star.
Well, and the thing, though, is he was... there's a couple of things. He always would have gone to Hogwarts. But let's say he didn't have... And the Voldemort thing never happened. If he showed up just as normal Harry Potter, not the world-famous survivor of Voldemort, one is he wouldn't have probably ended up on the Quidditch team as a freshman. Why? Because nobody would have cared to mess with him. Draco messed with him because he's Harry Potter. If he was just another schlub in the class, nobody would have cared. And would he have stood up for... And if they were messing with Neville and he was nobody, would Harry have stood up? See, Harry kind of stood up because he was already coming in going...
Even gotten into Gryffindor?
Well, see, that's the other thing. I think he would have been a Hufflepuff.
You're just biased to Hufflepuff.
No, I'm not. I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh, sorry.
No, but it's the thing is like,
I've never taken the test. I think I'm a Ravenclaw.
I was the first time I did it, I was Gryffindor. The second time I did it, Ravenclaw. So I'm a Gryffindor.
What is a Ravenclaw?
It's the smarts.
Ones.
Yeah,
I think I'm Ravenclaw.
So I'm a smart hero
with the touch of Slytherin.
Yeah,
I'm a Raven Slytherin.
Yeah, so you're Slitherclaw.
That's what I am.
Or Raverin.
I like to think I'm Gryffindor, but I'm not. It's like the whole Jedi Sith thing. I'd start off being Jedi, and then I would drive one day in rush hour traffic, and I'd go full Sith. Cars would be flying off the road.
Lightning bolts.
Unlimited traffic. Shooting lightning out. That was my horrible Palpatine impression, which goes back to me learning voices.
Unlimited power.
Yeah.
You gotta get that little strain in the back of your throat.
But yeah,
I mean,
so some of the things they point out were,
I think people think Harry Potter nerd because you have all of the Harry Potter fans, myself included.
Yeah,
we kind of call ourselves like Harry Potter nerds.
Right.
But Harry Potter himself never was.
Yeah, the real nerd was Hermione.
Hermione's the one. Hermione's the most powerful person in that group.
Right.
She was really good with her powers right away. I mean, because she read, she understood. I mean, heck, showing up on the train first time she meets them, she's like, I was reading in this book and that book and this book, but so I know everything and I've never been there.
To be fair, Hermione kind of cheated because she kept using the time turner. So who knows how many years of classes she took during that time?
She only did that during the third year, but
during the third year in our timeline, but she might have done 10 years worth of classes.
Well, she did do a lot, and
we don't know how much she did. And then here she is going against other people her age.
I believe in the book it didn't say exactly, but it sounded like she basically did a double class load.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
So she was going to 2 classes per hour, and and she was learning everything. But then, of course, she also signed herself all kinds of extra work.
Right.
So she read everything, and then over the summer, what's she doing? She's writing papers.
It's not. What was it when she's correcting Ron on how to say the one spell? It's not such and such. It's Leviosa. That's it. Leviosa.
It's Leviosa.
Leviosa.
It's not Leviosa. It's Leviosa.
Is it Accio or Accio?
It's Accio.
Accio. There we go. See? Brett knows.
And I know that from riding the Gringotts ride that made you ride. Because remember when we go into the one room and then the clutch, he goes, Accio keys.
Accio keys.
So that was the last time Scott rode a roller coaster, and the last time he trusted me.
Yes, that broke the circle of trust. Brett is never trust Brett if you don't like roller coasters, and he says, "Don't worry."
Oh yeah, my favorite though was to get on the Cat in the Hat ride. There's like no restraint, and I was like, "Don't worry." There's a big drop at the beginning. He's like, "What?"
Well, it didn't make sense. I'm like, "How is there a drop here?" But because you just screwed me over on the last ride, I just see that showed how far you've fallen in my level of trust. But
I am going to miss that this year. You're not flying out to Tampa, so we can go.
I'm going to be so jealous looking at those pictures when you post them.
Yeah.
But I'll be there in spirit. But so, in regards to Harry Potter being Jock, some of the things they pointed out was, he was star of his team.
Yeah,
that's an easy one. He was best. The principal kept intervening on his behalf to get him to pass, even though he was missing classes. Because he married his high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
What were some of the others?
He cheated on her with his best friend's girl for a second there. Well, at least they implied that in the movie.
They implied it. Wait, no. Ron suspected it, though.
I know.
That's when Ron got all jealous. And
because he had...
Ron was just really moody for a couple books.
Yeah, well, he also had at the time, he was holding on to the Horcrux that couldn't destroy it.
Yes, it was taken over on that.
Going back to rides, Sean Forney said, I talked him into the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Disney. Well, that was both Stephanie and I. And I said, you'll survive, don't worry.
See, now, I will say, I was glad Stephanie talked me into going to the virtual reality Star Wars thing we all did.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Stephanie and us. That was so awesome. I'm so glad I don't live near there.
See, that's why I really wish you were coming down to Florida, because then we go over to Disney Springs and do that there.
I know.
So, but we'll have to plan an Odd Musings excursion.
Curse you, non-existing budget.
Yeah. Once you get some money, and we're going down so we can do just the virtual reality at Disney Springs.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
You guys, listen. If you ever, the Void, it was called. You ever come across this? Do it.
I want to go to New York and do the Ghostbuster one.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot. I was instantly a 10-year-old child. It was so awesome and so fun.
Yeah, Sean said we had a blast. Yeah, we did. I'll tell you what, WonderCon, the show was just okay for me. I loved doing it. I had a great time at the show. The best time was hanging out with Sean and Steph. We did the Void, and then afterwards, I had 2 days at Disneyland with them.
Although Sean's best part of it was his Fruity Pebble
churro, yes.
That he was in total zen with, that we got the picture of to prove. That was the best. But so anyways, if there was any doubt in your mind if Harry was a nerd or a jock, it's been definitively declared by intense research.
He could be a jock. I'm going to be a nerd drinking butterbeer in a few weeks here.
Butterbeer, I don't. You see, you teased me. I miss butterbeer so much. So, on that note,
well, one thing I try not to miss is when I go to the chiropractor appointments. I was there yesterday. So tell me about Loringer's.
Loringer Family Chiropractic. Your journey to wellness begins here. Build a healthy lifestyle with chiropractic care. At Loringer Family Chiropractic Center, they take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, including you.
Yes.
Loringer Family Chiropractic offers on-site digital x-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, and a family-oriented environment. So when you get there, they tell you to clean the dishes.
Yes.
Right? No, just kidding. Call them at 734-697-4244. And in case you didn't write that down, write it down. 734-697-4244. Or visit LoringerFamilyChiropractic.com or go to our Odd Musing sponsors page where we have the link embedded there, and you can go straight to their webpage. And Brett's a patient over there.
Yes, and I'll tell you, it's something that helps me immensely with some of the ailments I have, ongoing pains from a car accident, and then of course even just the work I'm doing now with Shift. It's a lot of lifting and bending and that stuff. And
also, what's really cool about them, let's say if you've never done chiropractic work to yourself, or had someone do it to you, I should say.
Yeah, don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, but when you go there, it's interesting because there's almost like an introductory orientation class you go through where there's some videos you watch and some other things where it teaches you about chiropractic work, because there's so many misconceptions about what chiropractic work is, and they do a great job of informing you up front what it is and what the benefits are. But then you also get, like they talked about, the on-site x-rays. They do the x-ray of your spine. They don't just...
And they have it right away. It's a digital x-ray, so they have it right away.
Right, but they analyze it. They go through it. They go through the results with you. Like with Ashley, we could see, I mean, it was so interesting. Like they looked at the x-ray and they're like, this is where it's hurting, isn't it? And it was like spot on. Like they could see in the x-ray, and they told her exactly how she was feeling. And they got it spot on because the x-ray told them so much. And then they can see even deeper details that, Ashley's only describing a feeling of how she's feeling. They're able to see exactly where it's happening, and they came up with a treatment plan based upon what they could see. So it's really cool. If you've never gone to a chiropractor before, go to Loringer's, because they really do. They take you through from beginning to end of what it is you're going through and how they're going to treat it, and it's top-notch quality.
Yes.
It really is. So check them out.
Yep, Loringer Family Chiropractic. And they're in Dexter, Michigan, as well as
Dexter and Belleville.
Yep. So now, going to kind of look at America a little bit.
America!
Yeah.
I was so sad. I getting dressed this morning to come in here. I have some America shirts. I wanted to wear this like over the top. I can't find them. I don't know where they are. So they're probably on the bottom of some big pile.
I thought I was wearing my Odd Music shirt, which you can get at t-24.com/odd. Use the coupon code ODD for 10% off.
And if you order that, guess what happens? That shirt will be hand folded and packaged by Lisa, who doesn't know what's going on, at T-24. Or it can be handled by Vinny also.
It could be handled by Vinny. He actually does a lot of shipping too.
Yeah, they were just where were they?
They were in California right now. They did a show in Sacramento. I forget the name of it. Fandangmo. A little small. It looks small.
Small show.
But that looks like they're having a little fun with her brother, and
they posted a lot of fun pictures. So follow them. Go on. They're on Instagram or Facebook. They're always posting fun pictures from all their travels.
Yep, con life they call it.
Yeah, they actually look like they like each other. So
yeah, well, they've been together. I think they've been married like 19 years.
Yeah, usually you don't like each other by then. So maybe they're a good match. Maybe these kids will make it.
They're good peoples.
They definitely are. Love them dearly, and really glad to call them friends. So. On that note, let's talk America. So, I don't know. Should I start off with the pledge? You know what? That's a great place to start, because I think there's a lot of people don't realize certain things about it.
Now, the thing is, I'm going to use it as Red Skelton, comedian, for those that don't know, who passed away several years ago, but he was around for a very long time. He's actually one of my all-time favorites. He was a really good guy, a Christian, and that this is from 1969, and I'm going to kind of skip through some of the stuff on here that he talked about and get into the heart of it. But this has been actually read into the congressional record twice, which means it's an official document now within Congress and everything else for the congressional library and all that. This part was broadcast in 1969, and he talked about a teacher, Mr. Laswell, who talked to him about they didn't think they were doing the pledge with their heart. They felt they were just kind of barely reciting it. So he kind of went through and explained what each word means. And I'm not going to get it's not too bad. It's not too bad here, but I'll go through it pretty quick here. It starts off with I, me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge to dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there is respect because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. Of the united, that means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into, at the time, he said 48 great states, as we know, was 50. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country, of America, and to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is vested in representatives chosen by the people to govern, and government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands, one nation, meaning so blessed by God, and we've added at this point, under God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Since he was a small boy, 2 states were added into the country, so it became 50 from 48, as he talked about, and the 2 words under God were added to the pledge. And as he said here, wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too? I do kind of agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great way to look at the pledge, and even though we're not going to get into our country in terms of what's wrong with it, things like that, we're always ever evolving. People, if they start looking at that, realize this country is the greatest country in the world because we have the ability to continue to change and grow and learn and get better in that. So, but that's the pledge, and I have said the pledge since a kid. And when I was in my teens and I heard the Red Skelton version of it, it really struck home because it shows that this country is ours regardless of who you are, and everybody has a right within it, and we all need to work together on that. Correct. So, but there's a lot of other fun stuff we're going to talk about, and not just get too deep and heavy into this. Because
no, we don't want to make it political. No, I mean, I would love to, for those who know me, but I'm not going to do that. But an interesting thing that some people don't realize is when the founding fathers, for instance, penned the first couple drafts of the Declaration of Independence. It was done on hemp paper.
Yes, I read that as I was doing some research too. And a little side note, it was what's his name? I blank now. I had it down. It was an early newspaper magnate back in the early 1900s. And do you know why hemp was made outlawed? Same with marijuana.
Why?
Because he had investments in all the paper coming from trees. It was competition.
Well, and that's very common. So
because hemp is not a bad thing, they just like it into
which is interesting because now here we are. A lot of people are trying to make the movement back to hemp. Like the other day, for instance, we were trying to buy some twine. We were at the store. Yeah, everything was hemp.
Yeah,
hemp rope, hemp twine, hemp.
Because it's an easily renewable resource that it grows faster than trees.
I've even seen hemp shirts and hemp. I would think they're uncomfortable.
Well, a lot of the hippies have done that, but it can be refined and used similar to cotton in that, and it's actually a lot more viable, renewable resource.
It's easier to, So I thought that was interesting. At the time, 75% of the world's paper was made from hemp.
Yep. Now, the original drafts, so the final drafts they did, that they ended up signing, were done on parchment.
Let's see. The first and second drafts were completed on Dutch hemp paper, and the final document was printed on parchment. Yep. There you go. Brett knows all. Big brain, Brett. What? Look at the big brain on Brett.
I had read that too, though. So I thought.
And you found some cool facts. What you found?
Like in American history, I kind of like this one. Though I mean, I think Robert Johnson didn't need to prove him wrong, but in September 25th, 1820, in Salem, New Jersey, there was a trial against tomatoes.
Actually, are you talking about the Supreme Court ruling?
No, this was they went to court in New Jersey. Yes. And it was they said tomatoes were poisonous.
Oh, I don't know this one.
Robert Johnson proved them wrong by eating a whole batch of tomatoes. He's wrong. They are poisonous. They are evil, and they need to be destroyed.
Brett has a deep hatred for tomatoes.
The thing is, I do like some things made from them. No. So I mean, but I don't like tomatoes in their regular form or sliced.
You will, if you are a waitress serving Brett and you have tomatoes on something, you will quickly learn his hatred.
I am not bad about it though, but I will say I am not eating that, and you can remove it. Yes, it's just like when I say, what would you like to drink? I go, I would like a Coke. Is Pepsi okay? No.
Yeah, there was actually, now this is going from the top of my head, so I can't quote dates, but there was the whole argument about tomatoes actually made it to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
The question of, is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable?
Yeah, that's a completely different argument. So
right, but do you know what the ruling was from the Supreme Court?
I read this, but I'm going to go ahead and let you say this one.
It's a vegetable.
Yes.
And you know the reason why?
I believe it has to do with how it's grown.
Nope.
Nope.
The actual Supreme Court ruling is what determines if something is a fruit or a vegetable is determined about if it's made into a dessert. You don't make tomato pie, so it's not a dessert. So it's not. That was the ruling in the Supreme Court. It had something to do, and like I said, it's from my top of my head, so I can't get into the details. But it had something to do with, there was something about with farmers and everyone, like if it was classified one way versus the other.
It's probably how they got paid.
It changed something. So it actually was a battle on how to classify this. And I
remember reading about this years ago, and I always forget how the reason they came up.
It was if it can be used in a dessert, it's a fruit.
Okay.
Because if you actually look up the definition of fruits and vegetables, they're very similar. Because fruits and vegetables both have seeds in them, and so because I just remember this one time a long time ago, I'm like, wait a minute, what is the technical difference? So I looked it up and I found that Supreme Court one, and it was, do you make it into a dessert? There you go.
And I'm sure someone's going, I make tomato pie.
Someone does.
Wrong with you. There's something wrong with you.
But anyways, we're getting off track.
Another fun fact here, since I did the pledge, is also, did you know that the current 50-star flag was actually designed by a 17-year-old?
I want to say in the far depths of my
His name was Robert G. Heft. He did it for a school project. He got a B- for his efforts. And when the Congress adopted it as the actual flag, he got changed to an A by his teacher, who saw the error of their ways.
Oh, well, at least the teacher recognized that.
Yeah, I love this. So it's written here is that the teacher said he would reconsider the grade if Congress accepted Heft's ostensibly mediocre design.
Oh, there you have it.
He went from 48 to 50. What's the difference? The way he aligned the stars.
Well, now we got to start designing a 50. 53.
53?
Because California is supposedly going to split into 3, so that's 2 more stars.
Yeah.
And then if Puerto Rico comes, that'll be 3. So we need 3 extra stars. We got to start coming up with a design now. So when that contest comes out, maybe we'll be selected.
Well, there we go.
Because supposedly California is going to be on the ballot in November. It was approved.
Yeah, I keep seeing that. I don't see it going through.
No, but this actually got enough support to make it on the ballot this time. And usually I hear it splitting into 2. Well, this time it was 3.
Usually I hear them separating one to be their own country, but...
Well, that's all, yeah. But
it would be interesting because the way the state is, it's the population in that they could, it's funny how would that be divided? How much does one side or one part determine the other part for finances and that? Is there someone who's going to lose out? Like, hey, here's the middle part here, and you guys suck, so you get no money.
Well, yeah, it's basically those who are living off of everyone's money are going to find out quickly how capitalism works versus socialism.
Oh, there we go.
But here's another interesting thing: the Liberty Bell. That's an iconic piece of Americana.
Yes,
it's the cracked bell. Well, it's the last time it had been rung was on George Washington's birthday in 1846,
and that's when I believe it cracked for the final time where they couldn't repair it.
Correct. Yep, that was the last time. And the bell used to reside in Pennsylvania's Independence Hall.
Right.
And which we later learned Nicolas Cage found it in National Treasure.
Right.
It was part of a big clue, but thankfully he survived that and saved our Declaration.
Well, he even stole the Declaration of Independence.
He did, but to save it.
I know.
He stole it to save it. He had to break the law to protect the law, as Elastigirl said.
And to get billions of dollars.
Yeah, but so the bell was first rung July 8th, 1776, to celebrate the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, wow.
As far as the actual reason why it cracked, there are differing opinions on when and how. Some argue that the Liberty Bell split during the Revolutionary War in 1824. Others speculate that...
Well, actually, when you read that, it sounds as they started speculating in 1824 that it did. And it's weird how it's written, because I remember reading that same thing.
You're right.
I think we're on the same article. I just haven't...
well, that's because we're brothers.
Yeah, I know.
But, so there's some cool things there.
I think, the Liberty Bell is cool. It's a cool symbol of America that we use.
It was also prominently featured in Z Nation in season 1, where the bell went rolling down the street and took out a ton. What's funny is the Liberty Bell, people imagine it as this huge bell, and it's actually much smaller in person than what you think it is.
I've seen people standing next to it. It's a good-sized bell.
Yeah, but it's not like this
mammoth thing.
Huge thing.
Yeah. See, I personally like to say in the same article you're looking at, this little fact here is George Washington was quite the booze hound.
Yes.
He actually, it was a manager on his farm, a Scot named James Anderson, so from Scotland, probably a relative. And he convinced him to produce whiskey made from corn and rye grown on the plantation. So they built at the time, became the largest distillery in America, 2,250 square foot. And they were doing like 11,000, I think it was, gallons of whiskey. In 1799, he produced that. I guess they still, they do produce some still to this day, but it's more, I think, for show than anything. But
the story of George Washington's interesting because they barely touch on his life in history classes. They mention how he's first president. We'll talk about how he didn't really want to be president. Like, he didn't want to run a second term.
Right.
But he felt the country would tear apart if he didn't, because there was so much divide over who should be next.
Yeah.
The original plans for the presidency made it much more of like almost like a emperorship. And it was because of him that it became what it was,
they wanted to name him. Actually, some people said we should name him King of America.
Yeah,
he said no, it should never be a king.
Exactly.
And as they're laying the foundation for the Constitution.
Yeah, he was such a humble person. But what's so really cool, like a lot years ago, I read a biography about him. It was this huge book, and there's so much more to George Washington's life than when he was president.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. He was an entrepreneur. One of his first jobs was as a land surveyor. There was a period in his life where his brother polio was huge, and he ended up getting it, and he had to go down to Florida because that's where you could breathe better in that air. So like that was one of the treatments, is you went down there and hoped you didn't die. That was basically the treatment.
Yeah.
And he survived that. And then even his career in the military, it was basically loss after loss after loss, and then finally he got some victories in. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, the first few years of the Revolution, America was getting a hand to him. I mean, he was losing people. I mean, they talk about it's really after Valley Forge, and they survived that. Then the turn started to happen, and and of course, then they brought in the French, where it kind of came in to help. So there was a lot of mix there. But
so
it's very fascinating.
Very fascinating life story.
I haven't tasted any, but Budweiser put out this year it's a limited run of a beer, and it's based on his original recipe.
On George Washington?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
it's out right now. It's called the Reserve.
Reserve?
Yeah, I think it's Red Reserve or something like that. So
that's cool.
Definitely, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I think it's someone that, as much as they call him the father of our country, they really don't explore him that much, like in movies. And
they really don't. I mean, I would love to see. I don't like the whole. When they come up with the fiction, like Abraham Lincoln fighting zombies.
No. I'd rather see an actual.
I would love to see, like, Lincoln got a really good story though from Spielberg. Was it Spielberg that did it with Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah.
I would love to see that kind of treatment on a George Washington story.
Yeah, see his life as he's moving forward.
I would love to see that. Yeah. But I even have a 12-inch action figure of George Washington in my room.
Really?
Yeah, it's really nice. Now, when you talk America, one thing you can't get away from is politics, right?
Well, you never can.
Yeah. So the prominent parties are Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
Well, what's interesting is the symbol of the Republicans is an elephant. And the Democrats is a donkey.
Right.
But what's interesting is both of those symbols were actually picked by the opposition.
Yes.
To make fun of them. And they both kept those symbols, which is interesting. So the Democrats' party's use of the donkey was first adopted in 1828 when, during an election, Andrew Jackson's opponents kept calling him a jackass. So because of that, they embraced the name calling and turned the donkey into their symbol.
Yeah.
Whereas the Republican Party in 1874 adopted the elephant symbol after a satirical cartoonist named Thomas Nast drew an elephant, labeling it the Republican vote. So they were making fun of them, saying we were just. I think what I was implying was we just follow what we're being told. But whatever it was, it's just interesting that both party symbols was made as a jest against them, and they both adopted that. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I read that same thing too. I found that fascinating. I mean, it's funny how things come about like that, where they just embrace the hate, basically, and why not?
Also, in today, we are always talking about. Not to get into the First Amendment debate, I'm not going to get into that, but the separation of church and state, which doesn't exist. It's separation of state and church, but I digress. Back in the when the country was founded, the Capitol building at the time was actually converted every Sunday into a church. That was use of government land to do.
If you go through all the original documents written by the founding fathers, they all talk about all the times that they prayed, went to church, and all in the same areas.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned earlier to me about the very first textbook.
Yeah, it was either the first textbook or required reading. I forget the exact wording, but one of the first textbooks, let's say, just to make sure we're accurate, was the Bible. Yeah. It was required reading at the time, and students had to learn it. And it was a higher level reading, so it was a way of
it's because it's written with the Shakespeare English. When you're doing the King James version, that was the version they were using then. So.
So it's always interesting when you read about how religion was used at the time and how it was very intermixed with government at that time period. So that was pretty cool. Any other interesting facts that popped out to you?
Well, I did a little reading about the what they call the Betsy Ross flag, which is the original American flag, and there's a lot of debate on that, saying that she didn't design it and stuff like that. And there's all kinds of different stories. It's hard to pinpoint. There was at the time many people putting together a flag.
And for those who don't know, who is Betsy Ross?
She's a woman that designed the American flag, at least according to lore. So it's kind of one of those myths of America. So, but the funny thing is, the story came out of her doing that not when she was alive, but by her grandson, like 100 years in 1876, kind of as a way to, I think, to get notoriety and that for things. But she did. The thing was, she did work on flags. She was one of the people that actually did kind of work and contribute to it. It wasn't just her sitting on her front porch sewing the flag, like has been shown many times over the years. But she was a flag designer and a seamstress and things like that. So if the story is true, where Washington is part of a committee, and I think Jefferson, they basically went to her because they knew her, and they helped get the layout done and the design, and she designed the circle. What she is credited for designing is the star. Originally it was a 6-point star, and they went to a 5-point star.
Well, and there's actually something very important about that design. A 6-point star is when it comes to sewing, is much easier to sew. And part of what Betsy Ross did was the designing the stitch pattern to create the 5-point star. It was actually I had saw a special about this before. I'm not a seamstress, so I have no clue. But evidently, it was a very difficult thing to sew. And she came up with the stitch pattern to create the star the way it is, to make it easy to do, I guess. Something. So that was a big contribution she did, was how to sew the star.
Yeah, I know I didn't get too much into that reading this and that, but it's funny that the grandson, it was actually in 1870, presented a paper to the Historical Society of Pennsylvania in which he claimed his grandmother made with her hands the first flag. And she may have been the one that actually did the first prototype, and that's where they get that from. The thing is that they did say that in 1857, 20 years after she had died, there was a painting done that depicted her actually creating the flag. So at the time, there was definitely some credence to a lot of this, and I know people like to go through and try to dispute a lot of the facts we grew up with, to say, well, that's not exactly true. That sometimes the kind of the lore of something is better than the actual fact of that. Yeah, there's like 80 people involved, but she may have did the actual sewing of the first thing. She didn't design it on her own on her front porch, like has been alluded to over the years. It definitely was a committee, but she helped design, like I said, the stars and everything else, and then the alignment that came through. And where they got the colors from has been disputed over the years. Basically, it was, I think that was looking at how the Democrats and Republicans were. I think this is more of a slight against Britain by using their colors. And rearranging that.
We weren't there, so who knows? I think half the time, though, this stuff comes from people who just don't like what the actual story is, and they start coming up with their own to try.
Well, and that's what it is.
But all good stuff. When you think of America, this is interesting. Now, I was. What's that show? It's that car show. It's BBC. They do all the cars.
I'm aware of the show. It was like Top Gear or something like that.
Top Gear. I think it was Top Gear. And what was interesting is their view on America. Because I was watching it one time, and they were talking about they were looking at Harley Davidsons and American vehicles.
Okay.
And they were talking about American things. And one of the guys, they're all of them on the show are British. And one of the guys said something. They're like, well, you're practically American anyways. And he's like, what? How do you figure that? And he goes, you eat bacon, you put cheese on everything. And there was one other thing, I forgot what they put in there. But it was just interesting that their view of Americans were bacon, cheese, and something else.
Plus, because the bacon over in Britain's not good bacon. It's this little round thing, and they say,
well, it's not bacon like what we eat.
Yeah, they say our bacon's not right. I'm going, no, our bacon is tasty.
It's more like Canadian bacon, maybe.
Yeah, it's like a Canadian bacon.
Yeah.
It's a little more ham than bacon in my opinion. But they like our bacon's like, as far as we don't even use it. I go, then you guys are wrong because it tastes good. Bacon is a gift that pigs give us for being good, and you're not good. So, yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting how they defined being. And he wore blue jeans and boots. That was it. He wore blue jeans and boots was the other thing. So it's like, you're practically American.
Pretty much at that point, yeah.
But as we start wrapping this up, any other thoughts? What comes to mind when you think America?
I think America, actually, with how you and I have been talking about shifting that's America right there. The ability to control your own destiny, to the opportunities you can grab a hold of. America was founded not to give you everything. It was the ability to have stuff open for you to try to earn your way through life.
Look at the top companies right now.
Yeah.
Amazon, Windows, or Microsoft. Apple.
Yeah.
These all started in garages.
Yeah. Amazon, he literally was writing the code for the website as his wife drove him across the country to move to Seattle.
Yep.
And then you had Apple. You had the Steves in the garage. It was really Steve Wozniacki that did the first computer. Steve Jobs is a great salesman, and he has great ideas.
They were a great pairing together.
But as an engineer, he's not as good as what Woz is. But together, they were really great to create the first really personal computer.
Right. Well, and Amazon, too. So, he turned his garage into his warehouse. He was driving to bookstores to buy the books and ship them.
Right.
And every time he made any profit on something, he bought more inventory to store in his garage so he could ship those direct, or he'd buy it if he didn't have it. eBay.
Yeah.
That started off as a Pez collector group. Yeah. His wife was a Pez collector, and she wanted a way of communicating and doing trades with other Pez collectors. So the husband created this website for them to post their Pez's on, and they could trade with each other. And then it worked so well, people with other collections said, well, can we create a forum in there for Star Wars groups or for whatever, whatever, Hot Wheels, all the things that people like to collect and trade. Yeah. People started asking, well, can you make a forum for me? And it kept growing and growing. And then it turned into an auction site, and then went on Facebook. Yeah. Those were guys just trying to find hot girls on campus.
That was the original idea from the twins.
Which cracks me up because the Facebook commercial now is like, we were founded upon joining people together. No, you weren't. You were college kids trying to find hot girls.
Well, actually, what it was is the idea was finding hot girls, and then he took it to a different step of, I think, I can do this, and I can steal it, and then, did he steal it? Yes, he did. And it's been proven in court. But he paid them a lot of money.
Yeah, but the fact is, that none of these businesses would have worked in other countries.
Yes.
It's in America. Even like you go back, the steam engine, this is amazing. The steam engine was founded actually 1,000 years earlier, something like that. I forget the exact amount of time, but roughly like 1,000 years earlier than what is publicly talked about.
You talk about the 1800s with steam.
It was something like in China, I believe it was. It was a socialist / communist country. The guy invented it like 1,000 years earlier. But the problem is he lived in a society where he invented it and it's like, this is cool. What do I do with this? Yeah. Whereas in a capitalist country, you can invent something like that, and then other people are like, I know what I would do with that. And it's like, okay, well, pay me for it. And you can sell it to them, and then they can improve it. And things, had that guy been in a society like America, he would have trademarked the steam engine, and then everyone else would have figured out how to use it. Yep. Instead, he discovered it, invented it, and said, I don't know what to do with this, and stuck it on the shelf. And it took another 1,000 years for other people to invent it.
Right.
But think about that. We'd be 1,000 years ahead in tech right now.
We'd have the flying cars.
I don't want flying cars. People can't drive on regular streets. People will be crashing into your house. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, listen, guys, we're wrapping up here. Next week, I'm going to see Ant-Man on Thursday. I know Scott's going to see that, so we'll talk about that on the 11th, actually, when we come back
I'm looking
live.
forward to that.
Next week's show will be pre-recorded, so definitely tune in because it is a brand new show, and if you've never seen our interviews, it's a great way to see that. We'll have it streaming on the audio site as well as through Facebook.
And some great people we've interviewed over the year.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun on that. From different shows. So there's some from Motor City last year, Vegas, as well as I believe when you were at Heroes, and then I think San Diego's got one in there from you too. So, and I put it kind of together real quick last week. I'll finish it off today and get it sent off.
And you'll get to hear our awesome new rendition of our theme song.
Oh yes, tune in for that.
But we can't tell you any more than that. Spoilers.
So
have a happy 4th of July.
Be safe.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, and we will see you guys next time. Dominic, take us out, man.
This is Lisa with T-24.com, and you've been listening to Odd Musings with Brett and Scott.